that much power. Tian feels a bit bitter about missing the chance to get the Silver Moon Wolf's blood when he had it right in front of him. But then, the weirdo Zhang grins and says he might know a way to get his hands on some monster blood, if Tian's interested. Of course, Tian wouldn't mind hearing more. That's when Zhang spills the details. Apparently, the higher-ups at their Linhai base have opened a new wild zone just outside the city. It's been set up as an exam area for the 5 major academies, and the prize for passing the exam is none other than monster blood. Tian asks about the danger level of this wild zone, and Zhang casually says it's pretty low. Most of the monsters have already been cleared out, except for a few leftover descendants, the weaker ones. Tian figures it's worth a try. Zhang immediately tries to rope Tian into joining his squad for the exam. Tian's face goes blank, practically frozen, like he's been hit with a facial paralysis spell, clearly having a hard time accepting the offer. Zhang whines that he only shared this top-secret info because they're good friends. Tian apologizes but says he'll join up next time. Zhang calls him cold-hearted for turning him down like that. But in truth, Tian just finds teaming up too risky. His ability is still a secret, and revealing it could put everything at stake. He figures it's safer to handle things alone. This talent reaper is fired up and more determined than ever to break through, get his hands on that monster blood, and finally reach the rank of martial warrior. 1 month later, at the 5th Academy's main office, the professor demands to know if someone leaked the intel, since Tian signed up even without receiving the exam invitation. Hesitantly, Tian explains the situation. He's already a martial apprentice, so he's qualified enough to register. Frustrated, the professor tosses a life responsibility agreement at him. Even though he wants these kids to live a little longer, if Tian wants to take the exam, he has to sign it. Then, with a mix of anger and challenge, the professor tells him to get out if he's afraid to die. Sometime later, Tian steps out of the office with a slight smirk on his face. He's already signed the agreement. After he leaves, the professor scoffs, wondering if students really believe exams like this are meant for them. With a smirk of his own, he mutters that Tian will come to regret this. The next morning, Ye wakes up and calls out for her brother, but the smell of delicious food pulls her toward the breakfast table, where everything's already prepared. She finds a note from Tian saying he'll be back in 3 days because his school has an event. Reading it, Ye wonders what kind of event takes that long and silently hopes for her brother's safety. When Tian arrives at the location, the students from the 5th Academy are buzzing with excitement. There are so many students from all 5 major academies. Meanwhile, Mo Xiaobei, flanked by his bodyguard from the 1st Academy, throws a disdainful glance at the 5th Academy students, calling them scum from the Garbage Academy. His bodyguard playfully suggests he should hunt the monsters and the humans too, just to wipe out the weaklings. Zhang Bao points at Mo Xiaobei and tells Tian that he's one of the strongest from the younger generation of the Mo family. Knowing how arrogant political families can be, Tian quickly figures out that Xiaobei is just another ego-driven guy. Suddenly, a guy with his sword still sheathed walks straight into the 1st Academy's camp, eyes locked on Mo Xiaobei with fierce determination. The students start yelling, demanding to know how he even got into their camp. But the guy, clearly angry, ignores them and challenges Xiaobei to come face him. He says he's here to chop him into pieces. Hearing that, Xiaobei just smirks, making it clear he's ready to beat this guy all over again. Tian, seeing them argue like that, gets curious and wants to know who the guy is. Being the gossip king he is, Zhang Bao tells him that the guy is Li Yunxing, a genius from the 2nd Academy who once got defeated by Mo Xiaobei. The professor of the 1st Academy snaps at the students to stop messing around, reminding them that these people are strong and not to be taken lightly. But Tian doesn't care and starts loudly cheering for Li Yunxing. Li Yunxing looks confused and a little awkward, wondering who this random guy is and why he's cheering for him when they don't even know each other. Just then, the authorities find out that 2 rivals are about to fight, and an announcement goes out warning that anyone who starts a fight outside the wild zone will be disqualified from the exams. With no choice left, Li Yunxing walks away from the 1st Academy's camp, but not before vowing that he won't let his rival go once they're inside the wild zone. Xiaobei just laughs and says nothing, clearly amused. On the other hand, Li Yunxing walks up to Tian, praising him for having the guts to cheer him on and asking for his name. When Tian introduces himself, he also takes the chance to observe Li Yunxing's talents, noticing that he has a low-tier cultivation talent and a mid-tier sword talent, which Tian finds pretty decent. Tian, extending his hand, offers a friendly gesture of support, encouraging Li Yunxing to give it his all and aim to surpass Mo Xiaobei in the upcoming Wild Zone exam. Li Yunxing, surprised, shakes his hand and wishes him luck too. What Li Yunxing doesn't know is that it was actually a clever move by Tian, who used the handshake to secretly copy Li Yunxing's sword talent. The moment the announcement is made that the exam has started, the students from the 1st Academy are called to enter the Wild Zone. Without hesitation, they all rush in. Meanwhile, Li Yunxing heads off to find his team, annoyed that the students have to enter based on their academy's order. As soon as he leaves, Tian hurries to a hidden spot where he can safely fuse the copied talent. When he begins the fusion, a powerful surge of energy runs through his body, causing intense pain. Even though he's gone through this 2 or 3 times before, he's still not completely used to it, though he's getting better at handling the pain. Once the sword talent is fully fused, a strong electric wave bursts out around him. To test the new power, Tian slashes at the nearby trees that have been growing for years, and with a single strike, he cuts them down, leaving him stunned and amazed. His status window updates right after, now showing a mid-tier cultivation talent, a novice-tier speed talent, and a mid-tier sword talent. After a while, an announcement is made that the first 4 academies have entered the Wild Zone, and finally, it's time for the 5th Academy. The students of the 5th Academy, including Zhang Bao and Tian, step forward with confidence, ready to face whatever comes next. Upon entering the Wild Zone, all the students scatter in different directions. Tian moves alone along a path, staying alert and cautious. Suddenly, he senses something trailing behind him. Without wasting a second, he spins around and sees a giant snake rushing toward him. Tian leaps high into the air and in the blink of an eye, strikes the monster down with his sword. The snake crashes to the ground lifeless. As proof of his kill, Tian takes one of its eyeballs and earns his first point. After the fight, Tian realizes these beasts are relatively weak, but according to the exam rules, the more beasts a student kills, the higher their rank will be. Determined to reach the top, Tian makes up his mind to secure first place no matter what. The reward for the top scorer includes 3 mid-tier beast bloods and 100,000 yuan, which is no small prize. Tian knows he has a long road ahead, and to earn these rewards, he must keep hunting. Using his speed talent, he starts jumping from one building to another, pushing forward to find more beasts. That's when he spots his friend Zhang trapped and surrounded by a horde of monsters. Zhang is frozen with fear, trembling and calling for help, completely unable to defend himself. As one of the flanged wolves lunges at him, Tian reacts instantly. He grabs a bow, fires an arrow, and kills the beast with precision. Zhang Bao's eyes go wide in shock when he sees Tian. Still terrified, Zhang warns him not to engage with these monsters, saying Tian is also too weak to take on the deadly flanged wolves. Hearing this, a smirk appears on Tian's face, and with the combined force of his speed and sword talents, he moves like a blur around the beasts, slicing them in half within seconds. Once all the monsters are down, Tian stands calmly in the middle of their lifeless bodies, unfazed. Meanwhile, Zhang stands frozen, too stunned to say a word, struggling to believe what he just witnessed. Everything feels unreal to him. After finishing off the monsters, Tian uses his sword to pull out the fang of the flanged wolf, then glances at Zhang to see if he's okay with him keeping it. But Zhang has no say in it. Tian's the one who killed them, so it's only fair he keeps the reward. Noticing how exhausted Zhang looks, Tian asks if he's really planning to keep going in this condition. But Zhang has already made up his mind. He's done with the exam, saying it's way too dangerous, and he's just lucky to have survived without getting hurt. All his teammates are badly injured, so his priority now is to get them out safely. Before Tian takes off again, Zhang warns him about a rumor going around, the presence of a pseudo-beast in the Wild Zone. Tian doesn't know anything about it, so Zhang explains that he heard a group from the First Academy is hunting a giant spotted snake over 10 meters long. It's not just any snake, it's a pseudo-beast, much stronger and rarer than the usual monsters. Taking it down is worth 500 points, which might be the highest score available. As soon as he hears that, Tian pressures Zhang into telling him the beast's location. Reluctantly, Zhang says it's in the southeast. Without wasting a moment, Tian darts off in that direction, knowing that if he manages to get those 500 points, first place will be his for sure. As Tian reaches the southeast, he spots students in First Academy uniforms lying injured or dead on the ground. He, scanning the area, notices a massive eruption taking place nearby. He follows the source and climbs onto a rooftop where he gets a clear view of a gigantic pseudo-beast wreaking havoc. Most of the First Academy students, including Mo Xiaobei, are engaged in battle with the monster, but it's obvious that the creature is completely out of control. Xiaobei is shouting orders, urging his team to bring the beast down and secure the 500 points. His bodyguard, closely observing the fight, notices that the beast is starting to tire and quickly informs Xiaobei that now would be the perfect time to strike. Just as they prepare to move in, the pseudo-beast, overwhelmed with fury, lets out a thunderous roar that sends shockwaves tearing through the ground. Mo Xiaobei, hearing the roar, swiftly kicks off the ground, deciding to take care of the rest. With a wicked smirk on his face, he lunges forward to deliver the blow to the monster with his sword. The next second, he stabs the blade into the pseudo-beast's head, blood immediately splattering out of it. Instantly, he gets a powerful blow from the monster's tail, causing him to be knocked off the monster's head. Xiaobei has fallen on the ground near a building, causing a huge dent in the wall. A few seconds later, he raises his head, rejoicing evident on his face, since the 500 points are his now. The pseudo-beast has finally collapsed on the ground. Seeing this from the roof of a nearby building, Ye Tian regrets being late. Meanwhile, Mo Xiaobei walks towards his bodyguard, who is bowing down in respect and congratulating his master on scoring 500 points. Xiaobei, being arrogant as usual, claims to have first place in exams now. However, instantly, the monster's skin color changes, and it opens its bloodshot eyes. Without wasting a second, it rises from the ground, roaring loudly. The students freak out, but the monster's anger is doubled now. It is causing the students harm. Xiaobei can't believe all his efforts ended up in vain. But before anyone can react further, the monster rises into the sky and escapes, leaving chaos and destruction behind. That's when Xiaobei realizes this wasn't just a pseudo-beast, it was a full-fledged monster. With that in mind, all the surviving students from the other academies, along with Xiaobei and his team, decide to go after it. Monsters are worth a massive 1,000 points, and none of them are willing to let that kind of opportunity slip away. Knowing their earlier attacks already weakened it, Xiaobei understands they need to catch it quickly before someone else finishes the job and claims the reward. If they don't, all their sacrifices and effort will mean nothing. Meanwhile, Ye Tian stands on the rooftop of a building, surrounded by a surge of powerful energy, a confident smile on his face. Thanks to the skills he copied, he knows he's faster than Xiaobei and the others, and he never expected a monster worth 1,000 points to show up so suddenly. Without wasting time, he decides to go all in, pushing his speed and power to the limit. His aura flares stronger than ever, and with unwavering determination in his eyes, he launches himself into the sky. In just a few seconds, he covers a huge distance, racing to catch up and track down the monster. Sometime later, the massive monster crawls toward a crumbling, rubbled building, leaving a trail of thick, purplish mucus behind as it tries to hide. At that exact moment, Ye Tian arrives at the scene, landing smoothly on the ground. He quickly notices that the first academy students haven't reached the area yet and spots the fresh mucus left by the monster. Without hesitation, he crouches down and touches it, trying to determine how recently the monster passed through. Following the trail, he moves toward the rubbled building and stops just outside, standing still as he senses the presence inside. A greedy smile spreads across his face at the thought of claiming 1,000 points all for himself. As Ye Tian carefully enters the building, he's immediately hit by the strong, pungent stench of the monster. Even though he knows it's close by, he walks forward without fear, his energy beginning to fill the space around him. As he scans the surroundings, his eyes suddenly widen in shock and a drop of cold sweat runs down his forehead. Right in front of him is the massive monster, its mouth wide open as it drinks some kind of liquid dripping from the ceiling. The source is a strange, shiny stone, and the liquid falling from it is clearly not ordinary water. Ye Tian wastes no time and pulls his sword from its sheath, smirking at the thought of earning those 1,000 points first and dealing with the strange liquid later. With burning determination in his eyes, he charges straight at the monster, but the beast senses him and instantly reacts. It leaps high into the air with unexpected speed, catching Ye Tian off guard. As Ye Tian tries to dodge, the monster slams its hand into the ground, sending out a powerful shockwave that throws him back hard. Still, he doesn't give up. He quickly grabs his bow and in the blink of an eye, draws 3 arrows and fires them at the monster. 2 of them hit the creature straight in the eyes, and blood immediately spurts out as the beast howls in pain and agony. He, grasping his sword tightly, rushes towards the monster again and strikes at the monster. The intensity of that stab is so powerful that Ye Tian's hands are shivering from its intensity. Running down the monster's body, he cuts the flesh of the monster with his sword alternately. The monster, writhing in pain, splashes his blood everywhere. Before the huge monster collapses on the ground, Ye Tian has already jumped off its body. As soon as the battle is over, Ye Tian smiles wickedly with a sigh of relief, admitting that there was no way he could have killed it if Mo Xiaobei and his group didn't wear the monster down first. His focus then shifts towards the liquid, wondering what it is. Though towards him, it doesn't matter since a monster was after this. It must mean that it is some kind of treasure. Without putting any more logic, he collects the dropping liquid in his flask, deciding to examine it later. Additionally, Ye Tian removed one of the eyeballs of the monster with his sword as proof that it had been killed, and since the blood of the heart of a monster is extremely valuable, he collected it too in another flask. As the drops filled the stone-filled half of the flask, Ye Tian thought it was more than enough. One last time he looks at the stone on the ceiling. A thought comes into his mind to not let this thing be a center of attention for Mo Xiaobei. So without any second thoughts, he quickly cuts off the rock hanging from the roof, putting it in the bag. With that, Ye Tian decides to leave, satisfied that with all these things, he will definitely be placed first. Meanwhile, sometime later, the students of the first academy arrive at the scene and find the monster lying dead. As they examine the body, panic quickly spreads among them after they discover that one of its eyeballs has been removed and its heart has been completely drained of blood. Mo Xiaobei's bodyguard is stunned by the sight and turns to his master, asking what they should do next, since all that's left is a lifeless corpse, which holds no real value anymore. Xiaobei's fists tremble with rage, and his teeth grind as his face flushes crimson with fury. Demanding to know who dared to steal the 1,000-point trophy that was rightfully his, he swears to hunt down and destroy whoever took it. Ye Tian stays hidden in the same building, quietly watching the students from the first academy. Raindrops fall steadily, soaking him as he observes from above. That's when he notices the group leaving the building. One of the men suggests